computer. Okay, we started recording for those who couldn't make the session. We always tend to share out the links for the session so people who may not work time zone or just work commitments that can pick them up later. And the benefit if you can get in here, it means that you get an extended chance to ask myself or Mark some Q&A. So please do try if you can. Tonight's session is about injury prevention. It's an important topic, which we always cover. And this time we're going to also bring in Mark. Mark has a viewpoint on this as well, which is always very valuable. So, okay, we will share the screen on where are we at? Presentation share. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All righty. Now again, originally Mark was going to do this injury prevention one, but seeing as I've managed to injure myself quite dramatically, thought it was more appropriate that I actually took it. I don't know if anyone's seen my last vlog, but I managed to wipe myself out on a trail run and I've broken some ribs. So I am actually talking through what I should have done. But okay, so injuries it's something we always want to avoid, because for me as a coach and an athlete, it breaks up the consistency that you want in your training. You build in your progression as you go along, with by having consistent blocks of training week upon week, getting to your recovery week, moving on, and it's all that level of progression that actually gets you stronger aerobic base, gets you to the point where you're hitting better numbers. And when you come to build, you've got a really strong foundation that you can actually start hitting much more intense sessions. So by the way, I'm just going to make sure everyone's muted, or else we'll have a bit of feedback on that, I think. Yeah, okay, good. Well, I'm muted. So we're going to talk a bit about session-specific things you can do, and also non-specific session-specific things you can do to minimize your risk of injury, okay? Sometimes it's completely out of control, like tripping up, running down the trail and falling on a rock. Mark is also going to talk about how you can also identify risks of injury and sort of mitigate it, as in like that you might get early warning signs, and then what you can do to avoid them. And then we're also going to say, if you do get injured, what's your typical course of action? What's the impact of it? Sometimes it's something that you can train through. Sometimes it's something that's dramatic that you have to consider, that your own race is, you have to really seriously look, do I have to put that forward to next year? Okay. So in terms of, that's where that, and again, we'll have some Q&A at the end. And please do, it's an interactive session. If there's things that you do now and you've kept yourself injury-free for a year, 6 months, yada, yada, please throw it in. As in, again, myself and Mark have a lot of experience as coaches, but we don't know absolutely everything. And we're still always learning. So again, that's the whole point of the PB Hit Squad. More chat, more share, and all the rest. But for me, we're going session-specific one. Again, I mean, this is when you're doing a bike, a run, or a swim, okay? Things that I have seen personally, and also with my athletes that lead to injury, are people that will rush into a session and they skip, or they rush the warm up and the cool down. This is really it does affect you in terms of excuse me, especially in the run sessions. Or people, if you have, like, say, for a VO2 session where it says there's a 2K warm up and then you're hitting like 1K at 5K pace, and then there's a 2 minute jog in between, and people go, look, I'm time crunched, I want to get the 4 by 5K pace in. I'm going to cut out the warm up and they go straight into a 5K pace from the start. That's when you're going to pull your hamstring. That's when you're going to tear your calf, because you haven't warmed up the muscles. Similarly, at the end of the session, you have a lot of lactate running down. We put in the cool down for a reason. So therefore, if it does say at the end of a tempo run, do like a 2K cool down, do it, because otherwise you're going to bed with lots of lactate in the muscles, and you're adding the risks to the next session. So don't skip your warm up, your cool down. Other important elements here: stretching and activation exercises are important, that you get the certain muscle groups that are going to protect your kind of high risk areas for injury, sort of your, as I said, your calves, your hamstrings, your back, etc. So we tend to do dynamic stretching, where you sort of you warm up for you stop, and then you stretch all the main muscle groups, your hamstrings, your calves, your quads, your glutes. And again, if it's a swim session, you're more on the upper body as well. Activation exercises are exercises. Ooh, and I've just thought of my new topic for my my next YouTube video. Excellent. The activation exercises are exercises that are designed to turn on your core. And I mean, your core is your kind of your six pack, your obliques, your tricep, not your triceps, sorry, your obliques, and your multifidus. So essentially, I'm trying to stand up here, which is all essentially the core is what your arms and your legs hang off, and they hold your sort of your body together when you're going through strenuous exercises. And there's a series of exercises you can do that actually just triggers your core muscles and make sure they're active, and it means that your body will absorb kind of impact better. As I said, hard to describe some of these, because some of these involve lying on your back and pretending you're a dead ant. So I will actually do a little video on them and just show that and share that with the group. But again, stretch, activate your core, make sure you're not just going straight into these hard sessions and actually putting your body under a huge amount of impact. In terms of other stuff, and as I said, that's on a session specific, a bike, a run, a swim, etc. But when you're looking at a plan, and we all get a bit time crunched and people have to move stuff around, you'll see in most of my plans there's a pattern where you have kind of an easy session, a hard session, and then you'll tend to have, even if you have a hard bike, you'll have an easy swim the next day. And that's by design, that you're not hammering the same muscle groups over and over, because what will happen there is you're putting them under pressure, they don't get a chance to recover, and then muscles, the little micro tears that happen in these sessions don't repair in time. And then if you do that again, on top of that again, little micro tears become big tears, and then you're talking injuries. So if you do need to move sessions, just be very careful about not moving two hard sessions back to back. And when I mean hard sessions, I mean like a 10K tempo run will be a hard session. A VO2 bike will be a hard session. A threshold bike would be a hard session. So you wouldn't put those two in the same day. But what a good mix would be if you had an easy kind of turbo, where it's 50 minutes kind of zone 2, and then a tempo session that evening. You are hitting the same leg muscle groups, but you're not hitting them at the same intensity. So you're just giving your body a chance to recover, even within kind of an 8-12 hour cycle. In terms of when you actually have finished the session, it's key to get carbohydrates into your body 15 minutes but after they finish the session, to help replenish your glycogen levels. Glycogen essentially is the fuel that your body uses to get muscle movement. So that's key there. And in terms of helping your recovery, getting protein of some form in 30 minutes post a hard session gives your body the kind of building blocks to kind of, as I said, repair those micro tears. Now, it is difficult to kind of finish, say, a 12K tempo run and then head home and suddenly lash straight into the carbs and then your main meal. So you can be clever with it. Chocolate milk actually helps a lot and has protein and carbs in it. So as a quick fix, always have a chocolate milk and a banana or something just nearby, if you know it's going to take you half an hour to drive home afterwards. Anything to add, not in a session specific hints and tips, Mark, you think?
Yeah, I was chatting to somebody this week, and they were doing a 5K road running race, and they were going for a PB and all the rest of it. And we're talking about warm-ups, and they said, "Well, sure, it's only 5K. I'll just do a 5 or 10 minute warm-up." And I was a little bit flabbergasted, to be frank. It doesn't matter what distance you're doing. I mean, especially a 5K race, it's full on, really hard intensity, max effort for that short distance. So you nearly want to be doing a longer warm up. So I think the tip I would say there is it doesn't matter what event you're doing and what race you're doing, you know, minimum warm up would be 20 minutes that you want to be doing to get, like Steve said, all the muscles warmed up, all the core and all muscle groups activated, ready for the hard intensity. So, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, try and do that minimum 20 minutes.
Cool. Yeah. Completely. Yeah. And yeah, it's even more important for races as well. And I think, you know, you can be standing around at a race, especially something like a triathlon and iron distance. You can be standing in a corral waiting, and you're getting cold, your muscles are contracting and all the rest. So then you're going to go, the whistle goes, and then you're sort of bailing into a full-on swim. So even if you are standing there, you see the clever guys, they're swinging their arms, they're getting blood flow going, they're stretching their muscles, they're kind of like they're stretching their calves, and like rather than just standing there getting cold. So it's also a top tip there. Other non-session specific hints and tips. I probably could put this under the heading of lifestyle, actually. We do all our training, right? And there's things we try to do and avoid getting injured. If we can warm up properly, we do the session properly, we wear the right equipment, etc., and we cool down, etc. But we need to keep the body in good shape. So again, first off, no surprise, eat healthy. And again, in terms of this, you know, people ask me about nutrition, and as I said, it's one of my weaknesses. So I always say, no, I'm not going to point you in the direction of a nutritionist. But as a general principle, I think we all know what's healthy and what's unhealthy. We may fool ourselves when it comes to the menu selection, but as a principle, more green, less brown, as a rule of thumb. But you can be clever with it. You can track your macros in terms of your proteins, your fats, your carbs, etc. Like there's MyFitnessPal is a very clever app that you can, and it's very easy to use. You can actually scan barcodes, and it'll actually tell you what the breakdown is. Although, having said that, if you're scanning a lot of barcodes, it means you're eating a lot of processed food, which means it's a slight problem. But yeah, so tracking your foods and making sure you're getting the right mix of, you know, fats, carbs, etc. The nightly habits, and again, I'm a big person of habit in terms of making it sort of things that you do first thing in the morning or last thing at night. And one of the really good ones I have done and built into my routines is nightly foam rolling. Now, I know a foam roller is essentially a piece of plastic that helps you kind of get into the muscles deep and roll on them. It typically takes 10-15 minutes to go a good foam rolling of your that's another good video, by the way. Your hamstrings, your IT band, your calf muscles, etc. Stretching as well. Just again, standard hamstring stretches, calf stretches, etc. And people go, "Oh, I just don't have time." I go, "Hang on, how much TV do you watch at night?" And go, "Well, you know, I always watch Judge Judy repeats at between 9 and 10. How about you stand there and you stretch and you do while you're watching Judge Judy? She's not going to judge you at this." Literally. So again, but it's just baking into the habit. And if you stretch, you become more flexible over time. Your body can take more impact. And again, that doesn't happen. You do it once and you're fixed, lads. No. It happens if you're doing it each night for 5-10 minutes, and you're going to suddenly like give yourself a competition. So go, look, how far was it? You measure how far you can bend. Was it you can stretch your hamstring. And then over time, gently see if you can increase that. And then after like around 3 weeks, measure the difference. That's again, just much more range of movement and flexibility in your legs. That means that you can do the same when you're actually doing your pedal strokes on the bike, and you're minimizing your chance of injury. So stretching and foam rolling in a nutshell. Yoga and Pilates on your rest days. All of my plans have rest days, and people go, "Oh no, I'm a triathlete. I should be trained. I'm training for an Ironman. I need to train all the time." Rubbish. Rest is important, but also use your rest wisely. Although I hated him as a football player, I had to admire him. But Ryan Giggs was one of the a Man United player who played into his early 40s at a really high level. And this is the age in the 90s where sports science was in its infancy. And he attributed all to yoga. He said all the lads are going out, they're finishing their session and they're going home and playing PlayStation. He said, I used to use yoga every second day. And he said like all his peers retired in their early 30s. He went on for another 7-8 years. So, and that's a much more explosive sport than what we do. So if he can manage it, so yoga, Pilates, Ryan Giggs did it, but also, as I said, a lot of people do it, and it can be quite relaxing and that de-stressing as well at night. I do, and it doesn't mean you have to join a yoga class or whatever, or sign up for it. You don't. Yoga for with Cassandra is on YouTube. It's free, and she's got all length and different types of yoga. So there's yoga before bed, and you do like 15-20 minutes. It actually helps you de-stress, sleep better, which you're going to come to. So again, yoga and Pilates, look at it. As I just mentioned, rest days and recovery weeks. Don't fall into the habit or the kind of the rah. I have to do all the. I don't take rest days. I follow all these forums like Pathetic Triathletes and all the rest, and you get these lads. There's these. It seems to be a small cohort, which is reassuring that it's small. But someone goes up, what do you do on your rest day? And someone goes, oh, we're triathletes who don't rest. I went, oh man, like these guys they're either injured half the time, or they're just plateauing. If you don't rest, you don't allow your body to consolidate the hard work and the gains that you put it through. And it's people who rest and recover are the ones who progress. And there's no, you have to, and there's an element of, because we get into such a habit of train, and then we go, oh, I don't even know what to do on a rest day. Do yoga, do Pilates, plan out your meals, do something that keeps yourself occupied. Resting is literally not doing putting your body under pressure. And again, the recovery weeks, you see that the intensity level drops down, you see that the load drops down. Respect that. They're there for a reason, and they're there to keep you in tip-top shape. And also you're not losing fitness. Please ignore Garmin. Please ignore Training Peaks in this cycle when it drops and it tells you your CTL has gone down by 4 points, and people ring and people give me emails. So I've lost 4 points on my CTL. I went, okay, do you feel any worse? I said, no, I'm still a bit tired, but I'm good. So grand. You're fine. Sports massages. Now, I'm a big fan of these, and some people don't believe in them. But a sports masseuse will be able to get your body stretched out and unwind your muscles, specifically muscles that are hard to either stretch yourself or foam roll, etc. And I find them invaluable. And it's a misnomer when it says a massage. So I remember my mom used to talk to me and goes like, oh, what are you doing? I'm off for a sports massage. Mom goes, oh, you're treating yourself. And oh, Mom, you have no idea. I actually almost signed up my mother for a sports massage just to let her know what it was like. Because they're not pleasant experiences, but they're really good for just releasing tight muscles. And if you are doing iron distance, if you're doing marathons, etc., it's vital that you allow those muscles to be kind of released, like your IT band, your piriformis. These are key muscles that will get wound up. Physio, either a sports massage or physio, or ideally both, they're worth their weight in gold. Once you find a physio that you trust, and you build that trust, because when they have an injury or they help you prevent an injury, just lock them in, because they're so valuable, and it's so reassuring that you go to someone and they know your background, your context, your athletic, your injury background, and they're worth in gold. This ties into the eat healthy, vitamins and minerals. I'm a little on the fence on this, to be very honest. I think if you eat a balanced diet, you're going to get the vitamins and minerals naturally. The only caveat to that for me personally, and again, I'm straying into kind of nutrition and stuff, which is way out of my skill set. But only things I found that has worked for me are omega-3 oils, because I found that's kind of fish oil. I find that it delays DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness, which you tend to get if you've done weights or you've done like a hard bike or hard run. or vitamin C. Again, just to help you boost my immune system. You can take multivitamins if you like, if you feel they're good. If there's other supplements you like to take, but unless prescribed and you're eating well, I don't know whether or not it's really going to help. But just note, the other key thing, and this is the most important element of the whole thing, and unfortunately, it's the one that suffers the most as triathletes: sleep. But again, we're busy with family, with work, with life, all that sort of stuff. We've got training, and then you're going, oh yeah, no, 8 to 10 hours sleep a night would be perfect. And going, yeah, okay. And when am I going to get the other 24 hours of the day I need to take everything else off? But do try to prioritize sleep, particularly on recovery weeks, and when you have a little bit more time. Get into bed early because it's just trying to unwind, because that's when the body regenerates. That's when you get into your REM, that the body, all the wonderful stuff, and it's the muscles knit together, and all the hormones that help de-stress and build everything up, work out again. The other thing I'm going to point into is never ever ever go trail running with your friends. But that's if you're clumsy. That's my specific experience when I tripped over a rock and broke my ribs. I just thought I should really make reference to it. Mark, I've rabbited on. Do you have anything else you want to add into that?
Yeah, just a couple of points. The one for me for supplements would be vitamin D. It's very hard in Ireland and the UK and this part of the hemisphere to get enough sunlight in the winter, and vitamin D is one of the supplements that you can't really get it from food, so it is sunlight, or you start taking it as a supplement. So definitely worthwhile looking at that. And magnesium, because we do burn a lot of magnesium with all the training we're doing, and it's really good for a sleep aid. So if you take it 30 minutes or an hour before bed, it's really good to promote restful sleep as well. And really, just to quantify what you said about the physio and the sports massage, yeah, I'm totally sold on the whole sports massage thing. And I think finding somebody you really trust, because they get to know your body as well. They get to know your typical tight points. Like I have tight points in my calves, and they're always there. So if you go to a new physio, there would be a whole investigation now of why your calves are particularly tight at that point. But because it's always there, it's always tight for me. It's just one of those things that my sports massage and my physio knows that, so it's not a whole drama when I go there with an issue.
Yep, absolutely. As I said, it's just I feel bad. I have these anecdotes which I clearly use all the time, because I remember using it last time I said this. But I went into the sports masseuse I use. It was up in Dublin, and he was putting away some other note, and it was a little picture of a human body, and he was marking on a little red X. And he went, "What was that?" No, he had a knee injury, so I this is his record. And oh, cool. Do you have one for me? And I went, "Oh yeah." And I took it out. It was like a Christmas tree, because there was just red lights out, little red X's everywhere. And I said, "Hang on, what? Don't I never had my?" And he said, "Yeah, remember 2 years ago your shoulder injury?" Oh yeah. But again, as he said, he knew that he'd fix one thing and the other. So, and again, I tend to schedule my sports masseuses in my recovery weeks, because they tend to be quite sore. So like you're not exactly going to be up for a tempo run the next day, or like a hard swim session. So you do your recovery run on a Tuesday it is, and then you have your sports massage. You might give yourself a rest day on the Wednesday and all the rest. But there you go. Any queries or questions from the gang about session specific hints and tips, or or lifestyle tips? I was going to say that's a better way of describing that. Okay, alrighty. We will. Oh, there's Seamus joining in. Mark, this is your baby, so I will give you the floor for your risk identification and mitigation.
Yeah, you can tell I work in corporate world, can't you? All these terms blasting out. I maybe should have changed some of those before I started talking to triathletes. But anyway, okay. So injury risk identification. A lot of this stuff is probably common sense, but it's best to call it out. So environmental conditions. We all look at our training peaks and we see a 3-hour bike on a Saturday or a Sunday, and we'll look at the weather and go, yeah, it's maybe okay. Really take note of the weather forecast. There's no point in risking a broken collarbone, out on the bike in any type of icy conditions. It's just not worth the risk. That's why we've got turbos, and that's why we've got Swift and all the other tools to make those things a little bit more interesting. Whether it's going out on the bike, whether, even in high wind, another anecdotal story that, Steve and I were doing Lanzarote for the first time when we hired a van, and we were going out to go and register, and it was blowing an absolute hoolie. It must have been 40-mile-an-hour gusts, and we were going up over a climb to coming back from registration, and there was a guy with a lovely TT bike and a disc wheel on the back, holding it horizontal to the ground, trying to keep it in his greasy mitts from flying off over a cliff, over the edge of a cliff into the sea. God knows why these people were out on the bike in these conditions. It was absolutely bizarre. So, obviously, good Samaritans we are, we left him there because he might have been our competition for the race. No, we didn't. We didn't. We're not that bad. We did stop and pick him up and had a bit of banter on the way home. But just have a look at the conditions that you're going to be going out in. A lot of people these days are swimming, open water swimming, skinny dipping and all the rest of it. Great for mental health and all the rest of it. But the counter to that is quite a few people are getting injured swimming in rough conditions, or being rescued by the Coast Guard, because again, just not looking at the conditions that they're heading out into. So whatever it is, just be mindful of that. If it's going to be really wet and cold, I would probably stick to indoor training. There's two factors. You don't really want to get too cold, and certainly don't want to get wet at the same time, because that has got sickness written all over it. Then we look at session load and duration and the increase in that. It's very easy to do an extra bit here on the bike, do an extra 4-minute interval on the run, because you're feeling good. But if your body's not used to it, those little increases over time will cause you impact, or can cause you impact. So it is just worthwhile just sticking to what's on the plan. Steve plans are all very detailed on how you build up that intensity and you build up that duration. So just going out because you can and adding on another 40 minutes onto a run when potentially you've only done an hour and 20, and then you double it up to 2 hours, is probably not the best way forward, and is potentially going to run into injury at some point. So again, try and stick to the plan. Just be sensible about what you're adding, session wise and duration wise. Equipment changes, these are always red flags to me for injuries. Even changing your runners. There's so many different variations of trainers. Neutral, fit, pronation, the other pronation, whatever that one's called, and more importantly as well, the heel and toe drop, of how much there is heel and toe drop on a set of trainers. Changing that, and heading out for your long run in a new set of trainers that are different make or a different heel to toe drop, is going to cause you grief on your calves. So again, it's just when you're buying new trainers, if they are different and you've decided you want to change, run them in, do short runs in them first and build up wearing them, so you're not putting your body under stress using them. Again, with changing cleats, there's so many different methods to making sure they're in the right position, but it's so important that you've probably had a bike fit, they've probably looked at your cleats, they've set them up right for you, but at some point you're going to have to change them. So it's really important to make sure that you have those in the same position. I usually use masking tape, and masking tape 3 sides, and then draw a line around them, and then they go back in exactly the same position. So there's a little pro tip there for you as well. Buying new paddles, your old paddles you're not getting the same resistance from them, so you go and buy a bigger, better pair and go and smash out a 3K swimmer paddles on, and then your rotator cuffs are screaming at you the next day. So again, it's just easing into the stuff. And obviously bike fits, a new bike needs a new bike fit. Even a bike fit, I would recommend a bike fit every season, because your body changes. If you're doing Steve's yoga every night, your flexibility is going to get better. So a bike fit is going to benefit you. If you're not doing that and you're becoming a little less flexible, then a bike fit's certainly required to make sure you're not putting your body under undue stress there as well. Returning from sickness and injury. Oh, this is when everybody goes full gun ho, they come out of injury or sickness and then want to get straight back into it. And the temptation is to try and do what you were doing before you were injured. Straight back into high intensity runs or straight back into your long runs, an hour and a half or whatever they are. You just got to dial it back and build up to it. You've got to earn the right to go back to that level again. My physio told me this when I went to him with a calf or a knee injury, and he asked me what I was doing. I said I was doing box jumps in the gym. So when was the last time you did box jumps? Probably when I was doing CrossFit about 3 years ago. You're not that young anymore. You've got to earn the right to do them again. So that means just doing them, and that's really stuck with me. Earning the right. I really hadn't thought about it in those terms before. And then your race schedule. So this is really just a little note to when you're booking races, especially this time of year in the depths of winter, the weather's grim, you need some challenges to look forward to. It can be very easy to book loads of races and not really consider the recovery time between each one, which is great fun, don't get me wrong, but having those back-to-back races every weekend or every other weekend will take its toll. Especially for the more senior members of the group, like me and Steve, it does take a little bit longer to recover from these things. So it is worthwhile just, taking a note just to make sure you've got enough recovery time in there. Steve, anything on that section you want to add?
Yeah, no, just a 100% agree, and some actually just echo points as well. The changing an outdoor session to an indoor session just because it's too risky, as an 100% with you on that. And we actually do have the next PB Hit Squad is kind of how to do that and kind of cool tech tips that you can do to set up kind of Zwift groups and all the rest, and Discord, so you can actually talk. It doesn't have to be a boring looking at the wall and all the rest. There's some cool things to do there. Myself and Mark will go through that. Increasing the sessions by more. We call that compensation training as coaches. And it's because you're feeling a bit of good and you go, oh no, my coach has held me back. And then, as you said, you're slowly adding in, and then you're imbalancing the plan. And then you go, oh, why is my knee so sore? I went, well, you went from a 12K training run to an 18K over a weekend, which we'd normally plan a 3-week build. I go, oh yeah, but I was feeling good. How are you feeling? How good are you feeling now, sitting on the couch? The bike fit, absolutely massively important. Again, I'd put these guys, if you get a good bike fitter, I put them in the same category as the physio and the sports masseuse. Like, put their number on your roller deck. Remember what those things were. The other thing, and again, this is Daryl, this is important for yourself coming back from COVID, and you don't rush back into things, especially with COVID, because not often all of us know it's affecting people in different ways. We've had people in the PB Hit Squad who only lost a week of training from it. Some people lost 3. But you're seeing, and there's no rhyme or reason. People are having elevated heart rates for a while, and then took a while for the resting heart rate to come down. So down to the other theme is you got to listen to the body. If the body goes, hang on, okay, I've COVID negative for like 2 weeks now, but I'm still really lethargic, that's your body telling you that there's still something going on, and you will get there eventually. Muscle memory is a great thing. You don't lose fitness over 2 weeks, over 3 weeks. There's always some sort of base fitness that's held on. So again, listen to the body. But and we also, about the race schedule as well, we also have a PB Hit Squad session on that, about how you build a good race schedule, where to fit in a B race and how to kind of taper for it, how to recover for it. Obviously, shorter races, there's a shorter taper and shorter recovery, but you still need to kind of look at the bigger picture. There's no point in aiming for a 70.3 A race, and then 6 weeks before that, you're just doing 5 sprint races in a row. That's not going to give you, you're chewing into actual training time, you're chewing into recovery time. Questions on that session there, guys?
Sorry, Steve, just one more thing I meant to add there around, things you should do as well is don't skip your S&C sessions. That's going to build your robustness. It's going to make sure that your muscles are strong enough and robust enough, and it will help prevent injury. I know that's generally the first sessions that people drop off when they get time, time crunched. So, try and get those strength and conditioning sessions in as well.
Yeah. And another pro tip on that, as in we talk a little about strength and conditioning. That's one of the other sessions that are coming up as well. But it doesn't have to be an hour in the gym and 2 hours in the gym, as in you can spread it out. It can be a 15-20 minute session. You do it late at night, as in if you're hitting, and it almost comes like an extended stretching session with a bit of weights, if that's all you can get. But that's better than doing nothing or dropping it all together. It's about fitting it all in. Queries or questions, folks? You're a bit quiet. Does this make sense? Okay, doke. Seamus, you've unmuted. Do you have a question there?
I suppose just you hit the nail on the head about the S&C business there. And I know myself is very important, but you often do. It often is the first thing to get dropped, and I suppose and probably the reason for that is that we have very clear plans that are very well set out. On the S&C stuff, it can be a bit daunting out there to know what exactly to do and to go to places to get some nice, good sessions. Do you have any recommendations on that, to where people might go to get some good S&C type sessions, like the 15-20 minute type ones, or whatever, or what type of things should we go to?
We actually have, myself and Mark and Anthony, the other coach, we're in the process of creating a series of videos we're going to release, which actually has that, and how we're going to kind of bundle them a little bit. It's kind of like your 15-20 minute before bed session or something like that. I essentially had the two lads as models, because my body type was no good for putting on video, and so we'll be putting that out. It's one of my greatest regrets. I didn't have the camera on when I got Mark to do some pull-ups in my gym, and he's obviously slightly a little bit taller than me, because he had a massive bang in his head at the roof of my gym, which also would have shown you a clever way. If he'd done his risk assessment, he wouldn't have actually had that
environmental conditions, Steve. I should have checked the environmental conditions first, right?
And also, Seamus, there is as an interim, I do have one of the videos in the YouTube as well, sort of how to slot in some S&C sessions. If you check that out, and again, it kind of gives you some principles about, if you've done a hard bike day, try to do upper body, if you etc., and like try to squeeze it in a recovery day, but at the same time, remember, if your body's saying that your legs are shot, give like upper body and that sort of stuff. So yeah, but it is something we're aware of, and I know it's something that it's of keen interest, so that's what we're going to work on as well. Alrighty, but good question. Alrighty, so we'll talk. The last point is, if an injury does happen, right, and it does, with the best will in the world. As I said, to be honest, I'm very good at my stretching, and very good at my strength and conditioning, and very good at my nutrition not so much. But and the sleep, I'm brilliant at, etc., etc. But here I am, I was just staring at a barrel of looking at no running for 3 weeks because I had an injury when it was trail running. So things can happen, and you just have to listen. So the first thing that we have to do, you gotta listen to the experts. We're the most most frustrating people, I'd say, for physios and doctors. We all go in and we're just going, but I have my iron, and I'm doing the exact same. I've got my Ironman in 4 weeks' time. What do you mean? I need 4 weeks? 4 months' time. What do you mean you need 4 weeks to heal my ribs? Can we not do this quicker? I go, no, it's God, and it's it's medical science. But so you do need to listen to your body if there is a pain. If you have to go to a physio or a doctor, you listen to what they say. You have to. They're not doing it because they want to derail your plans. They're trying to actually protect yourself from yourself. So I put together this sort of little kind of almost decision tree in terms of, and it's almost like you go in, doc, tell me, will I be able to play the piano before or after this? And goes, yes, great. I couldn't play it beforehand, but like, what's the impact to me, right? So the rehab, is it days of weeks, right? And now, so if it's days and it's low impact in training and it's a week CA race, you should be fine. You should be able to absorb that and don't do any changes. If it's days worth of rehabs and there's, it's days and it's a low training impact and days until your A race, you might need to tailor down the goal a little bit or adjust your actual race strategy. Okay. If it's high training impact, as in, I want to say high training impact, I mean, look, doc says you can't run or cycle or swim, right? That's high training impact. Low training impact is good. Look, you can't do hill repeats. Okay, that means you still can do a lot of other things. But if it's high training impact, as in they're actually ruling out completely 1 or 2 disciplines, and you're weeks to your A race, again, you might need to change your strategy because you may not be able to tick off some of the key sessions you would have wanted to do. A long brick at race pace, if it was a hilly race that you're doing, it was at some sort of hill repeats, etc. Your worst case scenario in this sort of side, if it's 8 days until your race and they've turned around, listen, you can't run for the next 6 days, and it's so I can't run for the next 5 days, and your race is in 6. Then you've got to look at, is that a case of you need to pull the pin on the race? You'll see. Now again, for my example, it was me. I am weeks of worth of rehab. I have 3 weeks of rehab. I have high training impact. I cannot run. I tried swimming today and I can't. So all I can do is very light turbos on a stationary bike. I can't do that. But I'm weeks, not months away from my aim race. So what we've done is we haven't changed the goal for my Ironman Texas, but I'm changing the training plan. And we're just sort of going, okay, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to do a lot of overgeared work on the turbo, right? So that's a real life example of me. And this is how you look at this. In terms of the other ones, similar. If it's weeks, low training impact, you're looking at probably just tweaking the goal or tweaking the race strategy. Your worst case scenario is you're a couple of weeks out from your A race. You've got high training impact, and you've only got, and they've turned around, like this is for example, a torn hamstring, and you have whatever 10, 12 days until you race. That's it. It's game over. Good news is these scenarios here where it's very high training impact, those type of injuries tend to be infrequent if you do all the things that we talked through. If you do your session clever, if you do your session specific warm-ups, if you're getting good sleep, if you're getting good massages, stretching, if you're eating healthy, yada yada yada, and like Mark, you're dressing, you're kind of going, that looks icy out there, I'm no more run on that, I'll do an indoor treadmill or a la, and I'm new shoes, I'm breaking them in. You can minimize the risk of these, so therefore hopefully you can minimize your need to ever look at this little chart. But if it does, it's a helpful guide. And it also helps you kind of have that conversation with your coach, have the conversation with the PB Hit Squad. So look, I've a grade 1 tear in my calf. It was a Ironman Cork isn't for another 32 weeks. What do I do? You go to a physio, you get told what you can do. If he says you can do light biking, or he turns around, you can't run or cycle, I go, Grant, can I swim with a pull buoy? And that's one of the beauties of our sport. It's very rare that we get wiped out completely. You go like, I can swim with a pull buoy. Cool. I'll load up my swimming. And if there's anything else I can do, right? Well, you probably could. It's a good time to address your hamstring tightness. A little bit more yoga. So there's options. Okay, doke. All right. Anything else on that, Mark? On my little beautiful chart, decision tree.
No, I just, we've all been there. I missed a race last year because of rotator cuff injury after coming off the bike in a race, and that put me out for the rest of the season. It was a bit of a shitty time, but you turn it to your advantage and you work on some weaknesses that you have, like Steve's going to do, with his overgeared stuff and all the rest of it. So yeah, you'll be in, it's not ideal, and like Steve said, it's infrequent, it happens. But turn it around. We're all mentally very strong and very ambitious, and use that to your advantage and work on work on some technique or work on some goals that you really haven't had time to do. So it's not the end of the world. You will bounce back from it.
Yeah. And by the way, Mark is my coach, and he's the one who said we have to do kind of overgeared work on a turbo. I said I should practice eating donuts, but he said, no, this is not your pity party. You get your ass in gear and we'll work on your cycling weaknesses. Okay. Damn it. Okay, cool. Guys, that's the injury presentation. Is there any questions on that? Or we've got 10 minutes for kind of open house questions or... Oh, by the way, actually, I'm going to stop the screen share and stop it for Q&A now. 1 second. All right, guys. Thanks very much for listening. I hope that was useful. Any questions that you have, ping myself or Mark an email.